A key aspect of human intelligence is our ability to convey our knowledge to others in clear and simple forms. But even very simple insights usually require a great deal of costly experience and experimentation to discover. So, how can we speed up human learning and help facilitate knowledge transfer? One promising source of knowledge is trace data. In many domains, every human decisions like physicians' lab orders or Uber drivers' locations are logged. These data essentially encode collective knowledge gained by all these humans about how to effectively do their jobs. So in this work, we're taking this high volume, noisy trace data and then applying novel machine learning techniques we designed to infer simple tips in a way that humans will understand and comply with them, and will eventually be able to improve their performance using them. So how do we do this? The first step is to learn how the human worker makes decisions. And here we're using imitation learning, particularly to learn a Q network that approximates the long-term value of the actions taken by the humans. Then we derive a novel objective that captures the discrepancy between the actions taken by the human policy compared to the optimal policy, and select the tip that best bridges the gap in a way that accounts for which actions are consequential for achieving higher performance. And of course, we want it to be very interpretable so that humans can easily understand and follow. And we will demonstrate our whole framework through our user study, where we design a simple kitchen management game. So in this game, inspired by the popular video game Overcooked, the user has to manage a virtual kitchen by assigning tasks to three virtual workers who have different but unknown skills. So over time, when the dishes came in, you have to try assigning all the tasks to the workers so that eventually you will learn each worker's skill level and how to perform better. This sequential decision making is pretty challenging for humans because they have to trade off short-term and long-term rewards in ways that are often unclear. Here's a flow of the game. They will start off playing the normal scenario with three virtual kitchen workers for 2 rounds. And then unfortunately, the chef who is the most capable worker left the kitchen. So now they have to manage the same orders, but with just 2 workers for 4 more rounds. Users will need to unlearn the old policy that they were playing before. And this is obviously much more challenging for humans to do. We ran the first phase of the game to collect trace data and infer tips, first using our algorithm. And then we have a human baseline tip that we ask each user to select from a list of candidates tips, the one that they believe would most improve the performance of future players. And then finally, we have an algorithm baseline tip we got from just looking at how often certain state action pairs differ between the optimal policy and the humans. So in the second phase, we will randomly assign participants into 4 different arms, including the control arm that would not receive any tip. I want to highlight here some interesting observation about human learning. The 2 tips here are pretty similar, and humans are correctly recognizing that the task distribution has to change after the disruption. In the first 2 rounds with 3 virtual workers, people have potentially learned each worker's skill level and formed a strategy based on that knowledge. So likely they'll learn that the server should not cook. So when the chef was gone, people initially stuck with the old policy, but after 4 rounds, they started to realize that the server does need to cook. So they're saying, okay, let's change it a little bit. Eventually, they allow the server to cook once. Again, the human tip is wrong, but it captures the same kind of dynamic that we need to pass more of the cooking task onto the server. At the same time, the optimal policy would then seem a little too aggressive for humans. And you will see in a little bit how this affects compliance. For the performance, the shorter the completion time, the better. So here we first see that humans did improve over time without any tip. But they could do a lot better if they got some of the tips. Our algorithm arm significantly outperforms all the others. The human tip, which actually suggests a wrong strategy, but is in the right direction, does improve performance. But again, our tip is better. Then we're asking how many people can figure out the optimal policy. So it's actually very hard for humans to reach the optimal in all of the other arms. Only people given our tip could achieve the optimal performance. This is a huge difference. It seems that naturally it's almost impossible to figure out the optimal policy without getting the piece of information embedded in our tip. So we see that by combining their own learning and our tip, they can actually make a lot of progress over time. And this really highlights the power of using machine learning. Humans can really complement their own learning with a little bit of a nudge from the machine. We also observe that overall, people comply more over time. Compliance for the more intuitive human tip is really high, and in contrast, our tips seem to be quite counterintuitive for humans. Even with low compliance, we saw earlier that our algorithm is still successful at improving overall performance. Finally, we also find that our tip helps humans discover other good strategies. This particular strategy is part of the optimal policy, but we never told them about it across any arms. We show here that our tip is the only one that helps humans learn other good strategies beyond what's stated in the tip. Today, I've shown you how we design a novel machine learning framework to leverage the great potential of trace data to infer simple tips that can help humans improve. We took the very first step in this direction by doing an in-depth study in a controlled environment and found interesting insights that can be useful to better understand the human AI interface. How should AI be designed to help humans improve their decision making? Thank you.